Good morning, this is Ron from 724 Support TV. Today we're doing an unboxing and comparison of two Mini-ITX computer cases, both quite small form factor. One, the Raidmax ITX-0907-BP for $39.99, and the Silverstone Sugo SG05 for $129.99. So they're both nice cases. We've used them. Obviously, the Silverstone comes with USB 3.0, the Raidmax doesn't. They both support quite a small number of hard drives, and both support a CD-ROM or DVD drive. But there must be other differences that drive the cost difference. So today we're going to show you the inside of both of these cases and see if we can determine if, in fact, the $90 price premium here is worth it. First, let's start with the specs. The Raidmax box comes with a 5 1/4 and a 3.5 inch internal drive, front-mounted USB 2.0 and audio ports, and a micro ATX 350 watt micro ATX power supply built in. Now the specifications for the Sugo SG05. First of all, note that it does come in a 300 watt model, but this is the 450 watt. So there's a difference there. And yeah, micro ITX motherboard the same, a slim optical +1 in addition to a 3.5 and a 2.5 internal. So this doesn't have the 5 1/4 external. It has the same number of 3.5s and a slim optical and a 2.5. I'll comment then that if you wanted to, in the Raidmax, you could easily get a 5 1/4 inch bay device that would support a slim optical and an additional drive of either 3.5 or 2.5. So I'm going to call that a tie. You'd spend $20 to add that additional bay drive to the Raidmax. It has a 120mm intake fan, which means it's going to be running a positive pressure, which is quite good, and USB 3.0. So what we've got so far, again, in the $39.99 to $129.99 is a better power supply, and to the positive, a slim optical plus a 2.5, which would cost you another $20 on the Raidmax, but you cannot put in a standard 5 1/4 inch drive. So the slim optical is going to cost you another $20. So I'm going to call that, from a cost perspective, a tie. You could put the same amount of stuff in the Raidmax box for another $20, but you're going to spend an extra $20 anyhow to get that slim optical drive. So that's net neutral, unless you really had a need for a 5 1/4 inch device, in which case this one just won't work. So we'll call $40 of the $90 difference the better power supply. Okay, unboxed. The Sugo seems smaller. It definitely has this obvious 120 for positive pressure, which is a good thing. And it comes with an instruction manual, a USB 3.0 to 2.0 adapter in case your ITX board doesn't have USB 3.0, which is fairly likely. So it's good that that's included, because there are only the 2 USB ports on the front. But annoyingly, it also contains stick-on feet. It comes without feet, and so you have to stick them somewhere on the bottom. The Raidmax comes with those look like toolless adapters for 5 1/4. It comes with a speaker for your motherboard and some hardware. So they both have power cords as well. So there's that. One thing I will also notice is that the Raidmax does come with a stealth door for your for your DVD drive, so that's nice. And I see some hard drive lights and quite a good switch there, and the USB and audio are hidden behind that, so that looks quite nice. Additionally, this can be set horizontally, so I'm calling those two from a size and attractiveness quite a tie. This is wider and shorter and a little bit deeper, and this is clearly taller. I got a ruler out. Let's do some measurements. All right, so let's see. So the Raidmax is 5 1/4 inch wide by, call it 9 1/2 inch deep and 11 1/4 inch tall, whereas the Sugo is 8 3/4 wide, 11 inches deep, about exactly, and 7 inches tall. Definitely more of a cube versus a bookcase, and if your bookcases are tall enough to support just over 11 inches in height, then that might be a better fit between your bookcases, because its shallowness, its relative shallowness, is going to mean that you're going to be able to attach cables in here, where here this is likely to be banging straight up against the wall if it's on a bookshelf, which it might very well be. So I will take a note that if you look at, also, this is a significant difference, that the Sugo has 3 sides of quite good ventilation, whereas the Raidmax really only has some top extraction ventilation, and scrolling around to look at the back, these are 50 millimeter fan openings, 60 probably, a pair of 60s, which are hard to get and not very quiet. So that would be exhaust fans pulling air out of here, and we'll find an intake fan when you get to the inside. But in terms of just obvious airflow from the outside, we're going to give the Sugo the advantage for bookshelf compatibility and for 5 1/4 inch drive compatibility. The Raidmax is still the winner. So at this point, I think just if you're going to be putting it on a bookshelf, I'd be going with this, unless you have quite a deep bookshelf. And you cannot really put, because this is all intake for a theoretical graphics card, you couldn't put it this way. Not without, I suppose, aftermarket feet would do it. The feet that come supplied are too small. Build quality, though at this point already it's clear that the build quality is better on the Silverstone, as you'd imagine. So I've got the tops off, but before I talk about the insides, I want to talk about the actual exterior of the case. They both have the same slide-on double bend, but the Silverstone is substantially stronger than this. Even though this is taller and longer, these pieces of metal are obviously thinner, and this is really quite sturdy and robust. Looking at the two chassis internally, they have quite a different configuration, obviously, but you can definitely see the quality differences here. This is all painted black. This is just pressed aluminum, steel, thin steel. This is thicker steel. It has a bronze certified power supply. Not so much here. The power supply, which I probably can't easily show you. Yes, there, the power supply here has a fan that results in an exhaust fan, probably an 80 millimeter or 70 millimeter exhaust fan, versus this. This will definitely be a louder exhaust fan, and not serve to pull any air out of the chamber, although you can of course mount a couple of exhaust fans there, although they don't seem to be provided in any way. There is room at the front for another 80 millimeter intake fan, also not provided. Okay, so right here we're going to say that to this difference we're going to add, we'll call it $20 for a decent, because it's going to be an 80 millimeter fan, you're going to want to be pushing air in. Even if you don't use these, you're talking a $20 fan. So to be clear, this started out as $129.99. To get this to the same level, exclusive of build quality, you would have to add a better power supply, and you could do that immediately on purchase, or you could wait until this power supply failed and then you'd be wanting a power supply more like this. And that's about $40. Then you're going to have to add at least one fan, possibly as many as 3 to this, to get some airflow and cooling in here. And so we'll call that another $20. So this is now a $99.99 case. I suppose you could run it just as it was with the stock power supply until it failed, and with no fans, using, I guess, this to create negative pressure in the box. Definitely not advised. And the build quality and fit and finish are worlds apart. To sum it up, is this case worth? Is the Silverstone Sugo 5 worth $30, just $30 more than the Raidmax ITX-0907-BP? Yes, it definitely is. I think that's the case. Quite frankly, when I started at the beginning of this video to now reveal my predispositions, my expectation was that I would find the reverse. And in fact, was preparing to RMA this chassis as being not as good as this. Value for money. So, oddly enough, I would give value for money honors to the Sugo 5 Mini-ITX case. If you just have a minimal amount of money, you could buy this, put in an 80 millimeter fan, probably with some oomph for 20 bucks, and that would bring it up to a $60 purchase instead of a $130 purchase. And you could put quite inexpensive DVD drive, which would be nicely stealthed, and you'd have a good looking bookcase. So cheap, value for money, and I'm going to assume both of them are going to be annoying to do a build out, although we will do both. So on this comparison, value for money, of course you'll make your own choices and determine what things are more important to you. I'm surprised to say that the Silverstone Sugo 5 is a better value, even though it's at a higher cost starting out. This has been Ron for 724 Support TV. Hope you like this. Please subscribe, like, and comment.